But yeah, so basically, I feel like I've come full circle in terms of that sort of stuff. Obviously, I'm still grieving for my friend. To me, deaths have never been easy for me to deal with. My mum died when I was 18, and on top of that, I was supporting my sister, and not so long after that, there was a lot of family drama, and I've had to walk away from a lot of family for certain reasons, which I'm not going to go into now because I think, like I said, I've covered the whole sexual assault stuff with what I've been through recently. Obviously, sexual assault has also been an issue in my life because, my dad abused my mum and my sister's been abused too, and it was just, but no matter who there's always been a situation where sexual abuse has been so apparent in my life. Hence, when I wanted to make sure that when because I was remembering the kind of people my mum went with and my sister went with, and sometimes my family that was supposed to be the ones to go to about stuff. I sort of went into my head sort of like, who can I trust as a guy, because like it's gonna be hard finding a guy because every guy I can think of, my dad is quite abrupt. He'd be in your face sort of thing. So, I didn't want to be with someone who was aggressive and in my face. My uncle was quite, my uncle was quite quiet and reserved, and he would plan things and he would do things. He wouldn't do it in front of everyone, so therefore, if he did it, it would be behind closed doors kind of thing, and the only time you would see it is if you slightly noticed it, and then after that he'd question, he'd deny it, so it would make you seem like you were being paranoid and things like that, and if you told anyone else, you would be classed as someone who's paranoid because, that's how he presented it. He was an opportunist and he was rather manipulative that way, and I grew up having to protect my sister and know that this was an issue, and at one point I thought maybe my sister could resolve it by going to my auntie and talking about it, but unfortunately that didn't work out, and my auntie couldn't see the opposite side of it, and then unfortunately my sister had to leave suddenly and not be part of the family, and this was not so long after my mum died, so literally as I was in uni I was at uni at one point. I actually got into uni. Sorry, just to declare one proud moment in my life I keep always not reflecting on is, I was told, so my mum was told when I was about 5 years old, that I was not academic enough to go into uni because I struggled at maths, I struggled at English, I struggled at all the basic subjects. So I was told at a young age I would never get into uni, and so for a long time when I was at school, I struggled. I struggled at everything. I had dyslexia. I knew that I wouldn't know. I used to say I'm stupid, but I'll do what I can to learn. I'm stupid, but I'll never be a mathematician, but I'll try and work money out, enough numbers out so I know how to count. Enough to get by, enough to do what I need to do, because everyone told me at one point you need maths at some point because you're going to need it when you're older. And obviously, in the first several years of my life, I have struggled with maths. Maths has been the most horrific thing ever because you need it all the time and you always have to work it out, and if you don't work it out, it doesn't work you out, sort of thing. So you always in that, when you struggle with maths, it's a hard lesson in life because, and even after school I had got to a point where I couldn't quite work out my maths, and then I got to a point where I used to do that. If somebody else knew maths better than me, I used to go with what they would tell me. I'd go with, well, you can work out maths, you tell me the answer. And I don't fucking know, I can't think about it. And then before I know it, I was letting other people tell me what numbers were and what it meant and stuff like that without me figuring it out for myself. And it got into a habit of like, I'm too stupid for maths, I'll never figure it out. And then I went on a few different courses to do with the job centre, and I persevered at learning maths each and every time, and even with the way they broke it down. Sometimes I gradually learned over a period of time, but anyway, sorry, the period I was at uni, I was told I'd never get into uni. So I didn't pick history, or I didn't pick like a big subject like science. I wanted to. That's actually something else. When I was at school, I did actually want to pursue science, but I told I'm not good at maths. I'm not good at English. I'm not good at all these like high profile stuff. So I will never make it into a science school, so don't even bother, sort of thing. But I liked biology, I liked physics, I did actually like those things. I liked finding out, I loved watching David Attenborough on TV and talking about animals and all this stuff, because that was part of something I grew up learning. My sister was a bird watcher, so she taught me how to bird watch and look for animals and note them down and stuff like that. I haven't done that in a long time, but yeah, it was something I used to like going out and trying to find birds and like try and find out what they were called. And so if you see one, you sort of go, is that or that, especially birds of prey. Whenever I see a bird of prey, I'm just like, is that a oh, and then I'd go to my sister, I saw a bird of prey, and I'd describe it to her, and then she'd look it up, or we'd try and work out what it was in the area, depending on where we are. And it used to do, and then sometimes I still do it now. Sometimes I'm like, I saw a bird of prey. I don't know quite what it was, but it was there, and I saw it. And then, and then, yeah, anyway, that's the sort of stuff I used to be into. So I used to be into all this sort of stuff, like science stuff, but I never took it seriously, because I was told at one point I would never be academic enough for science. So then I went, what else am I into that I like? And I racked them, and then I quite liked watching films, I liked watching movies, I liked watching entertainment, and then before I knew it, so I went to college, I picked media as my subject, simply because I did try the hair and beauty stuff. I did consider catering, because I wasn't too bad at cooking as well, so I did consider catering at one point, but couldn't quite be in an industrial kitchen. Unfortunately, I will never be able to use a industrial kitchen. I panic too much. I would. I'm the kind of person Gordon Ramsay would yell at, and I'd bawl out of the kitchen crying, sort of thing. So I knew straight away I'm not gonna ever be able to walk into a professional kitchen and cook. Not in my life. But I'm quite happy to cook on my own and make my own stuff and feed whoever I happen to entertain. And sometimes I've made some things so good that even when I was a carer and I had people were like, can you make this? And oh yeah, I can make that. And then I'd make it, and then my service users ate it up like it was nothing, and then I'm going, oh, I might be more of a chef than I thought. But then I walk away going, nah, that's right, I don't need to do that. But that was one instant where I was like, oh, I cooked. It went well. And I was proud of myself. I walked away, well, I fed someone. That's good to know. So, but then after that, I'm like, I'm not wanting to be in an actual industrial kitchen. It's too stressful. No way. And then I went, right, what else? So the photography thing. Did photography, love photography. Photography was like, obviously I do that now. But also the biggest part is storytelling. I love storytelling more than just photography. Photography was the beginning. Photography introduced me to the camera and how to set it up, the rule of thirds, all of that thing. Film introduced me into the world of theatre. I did want to do drama as well. I loved drama when I was at school, so I always remembered I liked things to do with drama. At one point I did want to see if I could do drama, but unfortunately in Swindon there's not many, or there wasn't at the time many drama places to really study drama, and so I kind of fell out with it. And that was the other thing I had at the time. I was in such low self-esteem drama wise, and even performing to sing or anything like that. A lot of the time everyone used to be like, if I went to sing or do anything in the drama area, somebody would go, but you're not good looking enough to sing. You're not good looking enough to be an actress. Why would you be an actress? Why would you be this? Why would you be that? What's the point? You're not going to make it. You're not going to do it. So in my head I went, well, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be a singer. But I'll sing because I like singing. I'll create a film. That's in my head. I went, well, I can't if I'm not good at acting. Maybe I can direct. Maybe I can direct someone. Maybe I can stand behind the camera and then direct someone to do something. Maybe I could do the other way around. I don't have to be in front of the camera. I could be behind the camera and work out how to switch it on and where people stand and how people, do something. And then you just command somebody to do something emotional on the spot, and then you meet these amazing people who would just be able to do something really emotional in a scene and then walk away, and you'd be like, oh my god, that's amazing. And obviously I reflected on that because that's something I could do. I actually could act. I can act. What I realised is I can get emotional and just walk away and be dramatic and not need to mean anything. And once I learned I could do that, I enjoyed it. And then I didn't know where else to really role play in that scenario, so obviously games like D&D helped me. I was like, oh, I like D&D. I do like role playing games. And then a friend recently, or a couple of years ago, introduced me to LARP, which is live action role play, and I thought, I don't have to be famous to do any of this stuff. I don't need to be big. I don't need to be skinny and aesthetically pleasing in order to be able to do these things. So then it was just like, if I want to go off and role play, be a character for a bit, then I will do that. Because there are places you can go where you can do that, and you're not expected to be anything more than who you are. And I went, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. You're going to be yourself, but as a somebody else. That's exactly what acting is supposed to be. You're not trying to be somebody else. You're trying to be you as you are as somebody else. So, when people do you can't make it as an actress because you don't look like this, I kind of go, well, no. You're not supposed to look like them. You're supposed to look like you. You're not supposed to look like an 8-foot, 6-foot model that just suddenly walked off the shelf. If you do look like that, that's fine. That's who you are. But that's not who I am. I can't go around pretending I'm blonde. Even if I could dye my hair. That's fine. I could lose weight. There's the aim. I'm not saying I'm not aiming to or not trying to live healthily. But at the end of the day, I am who I am. I am a plus-size woman. So I have to live with, I'm a plus-size woman. What does that mean? What would that mean for me? And so, I'm not, in my head I've worked out I probably won't ever get picked for a certain role because I'm not slim or whatever. But it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be other roles at some point somewhere. So, I'm not saying I'm going to do acting. I don't know. I don't think I will. There's a lot I'm into something. I'll just stick to photography. I'll stick to storytelling. I like writing and stuff like that anyway. I like LARP because it gives me a chance to role play, but I don't have to take it seriously. So in my head, I probably will do the role play as a LARP thing because I don't have to take it so seriously, but it helps me creatively because I can think of ideas, I can think of stories, I can think of certain things. So this last couple of years, whilst I've not had much, I've had stuff to do, but I've not had a full-time job in the sense of like everybody else. I've had to sort of, get up at 9 to 5 and stuff like that. I've not had that issue, so I've been able to work out the stuff I need to do for myself. And then the rest of the time, I've been writing, I've been coming up with ideas, I've been coming up with different stories. I've actually been writing a story about the last couple of months before my friend died. I've sort of not gone back to it yet. I was writing a story about fairies and the Fae world. I stopped writing it after my friend died because it did freak me out a little bit because of the stuff I'm talking about, the other side sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, I can't talk about all this stuff right now. I was like, oh, my tempting fate if I talk about it. Like, oh my god. So it got in my head a little bit. I was writing about the Fae world like 3-4 months before my friend died. So I was in oh shit, I didn't predict anything. I didn't know he was gonna die, but it was just in my head like, what the fuck, I had been writing about the Fae world and everything, and suddenly somebody died, and I'm like, oh no, that's terrible. So for over the last few months or so, I've been going, oh, have I tempted fate by writing about it? I haven't showed anybody my work yet. I've not even contemplated going to a publisher or anything. I've just been writing and trying to get my idea out, and then eventually I thought I might show it, or I might not show it at all. Sometimes I write things to the point where I go, is this going to look good or is it too much? And then I sometimes don't even publish anything. I've done several different stories in the past decade, and each one I've got halfway through, I've read it back and gone, would that make sense? Would that work? Is that realistic? Or sometimes I've gone, would that give someone a headache? And I've read it back and I'm like, they're quite far, so I don't mean to do it. I get far-fetched ideas, and sometimes I'm not extreme politically, I'm not religiously extreme, although it probably seems like I am, because creatively I use those aspects in my stories, so sometimes they do seem a bit spiritual, or sometimes they have a hidden meaning kind of thing in them, but it's only because in my head I'm like, that's what I want to put in there. But after reading some of them, I went, is the spiritual stuff a bit too hedonistic? Am I talking about something that could piss a load of people off? Am I gonna is this gonna change something? And then I went, I don't know if I'm ready to do that sort of stuff. I don't want to write something that would affect other people. So I was in my head would these things I'm writing about affect other people if I publish them? So obviously I haven't got them now. I have deleted some of them, but this one story I've kept. But I haven't forgotten the stories I've written, so I could rewrite some of the other ones again, because they were good ideas. I just haven't, I haven't got them anymore. But anyway, I do need the toilet now, so I'm going to try and end this whole video. But basically, what I've learned is, I've been told a bunch of stuff, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to be able to do that. I've had to deal with certain things, and I've just come to a full circle with the whole thing. At the end of the day, I think I've gotten to a point where I realise, it's up to me what I want to do, and I'm living my life now on my terms, as opposed to anyone else. Before I used to be afraid of, I used to be afraid of living on my terms, because I seemed to always piss somebody off at some point, or somebody would say I was wrong, or pull me down on it, or you're supposed to get a 9-to-5 job, or whatever, all that sort of stuff. And then I've worked out in the last year or so, I didn't need all of that either. I just needed to make sure I knew what I was doing in order to get those things that I wanted. And it's not like I'm never going to go back to a job. I have contemplated I could see if I can find a part-time job in the next year or so I've still got some income coming in. So I am looking into that as well. So it's not like I'm not being lazy. I'm not being lazy completely. I'm not stopping myself from having to do stuff. But I realise once I've had the time to do stuff, I've just been get into your creative. It's because, I'm very creative. I'm a very creative person. Once I think about something, I'm I'm going to do it. So yeah, I've just not held myself back so much creatively in the last year or so. I've just had to, it does take me a time to do things creatively. So when I say I'm doing a project, I'm writing something now, but it probably won't be till next year that I might finish it completely, sort of thing. But that's the way I work. But, with photography, I am still pursuing it and still seeing if I can make money from it in the meantime, because that is something I can do in the meantime. And then, that's basically my life right now. And I'm, apart from my friend dying, and I am hurt about that, and I am still upset about the whole thing, I'm sort of in a place at the moment where I realise I've sort of, for myself, I've progressed in certain areas, so in that I want to keep going, and, I'm just, that's where I'm at. So anyway, I'm in a good place mentally in some ways. I'm still grieving on some stuff, and I'm not saying I'm not completely upset, just, I'm at a place where I think I'm working things out and starting to be where things are going good for me for once. Anyway, I'm going to go now. Thank you for listening. Sorry it's a long-winded video. I just thought I'd want to talk about this, and I'll just put it on YouTube. I won't put it on Facebook, because I don't want, sort of if people want to see it, they can click onto it, sort of thing. Anyway, that's anyway, I'll leave you to it. Bye.